Alright, hello. Good evening once again for more of this game. Yep. Yep, I decided to do some more streams of this game. Mainly for one reason. Yep, the same title. Listening to more football news or podcast, whatever you want to call it. Yep, because there's still more to listen to. I guess I'll keep doing this until after the Super Bowl's over. Yeah. Yeah, the Super Bowl's this Sunday. Anyway. Yeah, it used to be on the first Sunday of February, but past couple years it's on the second Sunday of February, and in the old days it used to be on the last Sunday of January. Yeah. And they would have I think they would have the Pro Bowl the following Sunday after the Super Bowl. But now yesterday was the Pro Bowl, but it's like flag football. It's just it's a joke. I don't know who would watch that, but hey, if you're a big fan, then that's for you, I guess. Anyway, so couple nights ago was the 8th anniversary of this game, and I did a big live stream. It was about 8.5 hours. Yes, that long. However, in that stream, I took a long break. It wasn't supposed to be that long, but I had to go to the bathroom. Then I had to shower. Then I had to eat something because I got hungry. And that took like 2 hours total. Yeah. So really, it's about 6.5 hours if you don't count the 2 hour break that I took. But, you know, I'm sure no one, nobody got bothered by that because that was late at night anyways. If you somehow watched that part live, but that's okay. That's the best part about watching a live stream. When it's not live, you can skim through it, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, currently we don't have anyone watching, which I'm actually fine with that because I'm currently charging my phone, so I can't look at the chat right now. Yeah, I didn't realize my phone's at 20%. So I'm like, oh dang, it's getting low. I need to charge it up. Luckily, it charges fast. So, but I didn't know it was that low. Like as soon as I hit live, I turned on my phone just to see if I'm actually live, just so I can see the chat, and that's when I realized that my phone needs to be charged. So currently I'm not looking at the chat, but I will right before I start playing the game. Let's see here. But yeah, a few nights ago was the 8th anniversary of this game. So last year, during the 7th anniversary, I did the longest drive possible from Brownsville, Texas, all the way to what's the city? Billingham, Washington. Yeah, from the farthest city south to the farthest city up north. Well, for the 8th anniversary, I did a long drive from the farthest city in the east to the farthest city in the west. And that's from Beaumont, Texas, all the way to Eureka, California, I think. Yeah, according to Wikipedia, those are the two farthest cities from west to east, or east to west. Okay. So yeah, but I didn't deliver anything. I was sort of hoping I would, but I didn't. I was just doing that for fun. But this time, or tonight, I'll be back doing some deliveries, or maybe just one long delivery, just so I can get more income in this game. Look at this, playtime, almost 400 hours. That's real time. That's crazy. And that's for a combination of both the profiles, not just one profile. So, anyway. And, yeah, I kind of changed it up a bit. Currently using my second truck that I purchased a couple of weeks ago, which is a Mack Anthem. It's a big truck. And I was playing as a female. Yes, you can change your profile picture to a female, and that's what I did for that one stream, because I wanted to see what the female looked like. And I changed the color of my truck. And also, when you get tired, you know how you hear this yawning sound? Well, the yawning is a different sound effect for the female. I guess that makes sense, because the yawning is, a male yawning, not the female. So, yeah, that was something new. Anyway, we got some news here from today. Let's see what this says. Beware wild speculations. We hope this message finds you well and filled with excitement for all the incredible things happening at the world of SCS software. Recently, we've noticed a significant increase in discussions across various platforms, social medias, forums, YouTube, and more, speculating on our current and future projects as well as updates in development. This is cool. The Trucker Times. What does it say? In this era of advanced technology, we want to be proactive in ensuring that our community is well informed. What we do in the SCS software. How do I get guaranteed information? So it's like the New York Times, but it's the Trucker Times. Interesting. Alright. It says, first and foremost, we are grateful for the enthusiasm and genuine interest our community displays in everything we do. Your passion is what makes our community the hashtag best community ever, and we're truly grateful for your unwavering support. However, we'd like to take a moment to address a small concern. With the growing amount of content circulating online, it's becoming increasingly important to distinguish between official information and speculation. We understand that the excitement often leads to curiosity, and we love that. But to ensure you get the most accurate and reliable news, we encourage you to follow our social or our official communication channels. Our blog, SCS Software Facebook, ETS2 Facebook, ATS Facebook, X/Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Threads, and TikTok. Wow, they got all that stuff. The only thing that I followed is their Twitter account. Oh, and their YouTube. Yeah. Alright. In this era of advanced technology, I assume this is AI. It's not OWL. It's AI. It's weird that the capital I looks like a L. The capital I looks like a lowercase L. That's kind of annoying. Because it looks like it says OWL. A-L, OWL. That's a person's name, but it's really AI. Alright. In this era of advanced technology, AI and voice over applications were creating believable fake news. It is becoming easier. We want to be proactive in ensuring that our community is well informed. We may not always be able to react to every piece of misinformation or wild speculation. Following our verified communication channels is your guarantee to receive genuine information. Your trust means the world to us, and we want to make sure you have the facts, so join us on this journey. Follow our official channels, be a part of the conversation, and let's continue making our community the hashtag best community ever. Thank you for being amazing, and here's to the exciting adventures ahead. I like the sound of that. Yup, this might be another big year for this game because we got 3 states. They already announced the next 3 states DLCs that are coming out. I don't know if they'll all be released this year. It's a possibility though. Normally they release like 2 states per year. This year it could be 3. So the next state that's coming out is Nebraska, then Arkansas, and then Missouri. I hope after Missouri is Louisiana, but I don't think Louisiana is next. I think it'll be South Dakota, and then North Dakota, and then Minnesota, or something like that. Iowa. Yeah. They're gonna work their way up to the upper Midwest. I don't know, I could be wrong though. Anyway, so that's the latest news. That was today. Oh, also today, let me go to the game real quick before I start listening to the football news again. Because I believe today was the very last day of the Kansas Cruising event and the Christmas Reflections event. Like, originally, it was supposed to end a few weeks ago, back in mid-January, but they extended it to February the 3rd or the 4th? I think it's Monday. Yeah, today's Monday. So, let's find out. This music never gets old. Yeah, I unmuted the music mainly for the 8th anniversary stream of this game, but I can keep it on. As long as it's not too loud, which I don't think it is, so I don't know, I can check the volume. Oh, there's like all kinds of volumes you can change. Let's see. Audio. Remember, the music volume is actually not the music volume, it's the UI music volume. See? See? There we go. Oh, I just hope y'all can hear me. I think you can. My speakers aren't turned up so high, because if it was, then my microphone will be picking up the speaker's audio, and it'll be echoey. Yep. It's officially over. It's no longer on top. The World of Trucks events, yeah, it's finally over. Look at my Mac Anthem. This is the paint job. It's got some palm trees on the side. I like the color though, orange. Very nice. There's the female. I just picked a random female. So, before I start listening to the more football news, let's check some of our stats here. Oh, I'm currently at 40% for the map explored. Yep. And I still have not explored the state of Montana. I think that state came out more than a year ago. I think that state came out before Texas. Yeah, it did. That state came out over a year ago, and I still haven't been there yet. It's a big state, and I barely explored Wyoming. Cities discovered 149 out of 210. States visit 14 out of 15. Yeah, only one state, Montana. Who knows? I'll eventually visit there one of these days. Yep, my last two deliveries were Mobile Barrier and Knuckle Boom Loader. Like, they were both long loads, but my truck can handle it. It's heavy enough, powerful enough, so that's great. Yeah, this Knuckle Boom Loader was the longest delivery I have ever done, but it was in 3 different streams because the first 2 parts, the stream stopped on its own for no reason. Like, it wasn't even my internet. That was the annoying part of it, but oh well. I know I still haven't purchased a trailer. I guess I'll do that later this year. Same with recruitment agency, where you hire drivers that work for you. Let's check out our managers real quick. I still have my old truck, the Kenworth T680 2014. That needs serious repairment because I damaged it so much. I mean, I can do that, but I like my. You know what? I am used to using the Mac Anthem. I like it. I actually like it even more. I'm already at over 11,200 miles from my truck, my current truck. Old truck was at over 39,600. I can relocate the truck. Oh yeah, I'm currently in Eureka, California. If I sell my truck, it'll be nearly 200,000. Okay, yeah. So if I want to like restore this truck, my old truck, or the first truck I bought, this is how much it costs. Return the vehicle to pristine condition by requesting a complete disassembly and restoration of all worn components. It possesses a greater challenge than constructing an entirely new vehicle. I mean, yeah, I can easily buy a new vehicle, but anyway, yeah, condition only 2 stars. It is not safe to drive that thing. Let's see, my garage, the same garage where I first started playing this game. If I upgrade it, it'll cost $100,000. It'll give me 2 extra slots, meaning I'll get 5 slots. Currently have 3 slots. Economy salary, or economy summary, it's not bad. Recruitment agency, I think you have to like drive to one of these cities that have available drivers, which there are quite a bit. Oh, these question marks, I think that's if you like drive past one, you'll automatically unlock them. It's the same thing with truck dealers. Yeah, some of them they're available. Some of them they have a question mark. But if you drive past one, you'll get a message saying, "Hey, you discovered a new truck dealer." It'll be added to the map. See, look, Montana, they're all question mark because I've never been to Montana in this game. But I bought my truck here. I bought my truck here in Oregon. So I drove it all the way to California, Southern California, Los Angeles. And yeah, my first truck was a Kenworth, and it was at Los Angeles, so it was the same city with my headquarters. Anyway, that's that. Again, for those of you that are watching live, sorry for not looking at the chat. My phone is currently charging, but I will look at it in just a little bit, just in case. Got the American Eagle. Yep. Convoys is you can play online in this game, which I've done twice. One on live stream. Okay, so I'm currently in Eureka. This is some small town. But yeah, I did the longest drive from east to west, or really west to east. From Beaumont, Texas, the farthest city east, all the way to Eureka, California. Which is a long drive, obviously. It's not as long as last year I did from Brownsville, Texas, the most southern city, all the way to the most northern city, Bellingham, Washington. So I didn't do any deliveries, but I will tonight. Let's see. Oh, what? The longest route I can do is Christmas decorations. Yeah. UPS. From Everett, Washington to... Oh, wait, but I have to drive to Everett, Washington. Never mind. Oh. Can't click on Eureka, because I guess they don't have any companies there. So I can probably go to Reading or Ukiah. I've never been to Ukiah, so let's try that one. Dried fruits from Ukiah, California to Cody, Wyoming. Huh. I normally pick the longest one instead of the most income, mainly because of me listening to the football news. There's still quite a bit of ways to go until I'm done with my playlist. There's really not much from Ukiah. Oh wow, big tires. That's interesting. Industrial pallets, sand, large tubes. There's not really much. What about Reading? There's a few more. Ooh, a log loader. Oh my gosh. Wow. If I do this, I'm basically going back to where I was. Well, not quite, but pretty close. Because from Beaumont to Eureka, I was basically going across Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and California. I was basically going southwest, and then I was going north on Interstate 5 in California. That was my direction. Let's see. Wait, what if I type Eureka? Can I still get something? Nope. Only the destination is in Eureka, so you can't haul anything from Eureka. Do Reading, I guess, since I was at Reading. Oh my gosh, log loader. Oops, I almost clicked on it. I don't know, part of me wants to do this, but part of me doesn't, because I was just on this road. I was basically going the opposite direction, so maybe something else? Dumpster? But look at the difference of the price. We only did it get $14,000. Is it worth it? Hold on. What if I just type in dumpster? Dumpster. Let's sort by highest price. Oh, this was the highest price. Never mind. Okay, then. Let's see, what can we do? How long will this take? Wow, this will take 33 hours and 58 minutes. For only 14,700, that's not, it's not really worth it, but, I mean, I could do it if I want to. Hey, we'll be in Wyoming for a little bit. I was barely in Wyoming, so at least we'll go there. What about Montana? Oh, here's one, going to Montana. Waste paper. I could go there. Log loader. Oh my gosh. I might save this for future. So you can still do external contracts even when there's no World of Trucks events going on. Cars, I can do cars from Eureka, California to Tulsa, Oklahoma. Whoa. These are only the ones from Eureka. This will be part of your World of Trucks account. I don't know, this might be pretty good to do. Cars, Ford. Honestly, this is probably a better one to do. Yeah, we'll do that one, I guess, and see what happens. Refresh. I don't want to click on that because that might change the list. Wait, remains 3.5 hours. Does that mean, like, we have 3.5 hours to complete this? I'm gonna just see. I don't know. I'll just see. Or is that, like, 3.5 hours after you take the job? Let me click begin delivery and see what happens. Because I know if you cancel it, you have to pay like $12,000. I'll just check. I know I never really do external contracts whenever there's no World of Trucks events going on, but you can do them. This might be the first one. Probably because I'm in Eureka, some small town in California, Northern California, Western. Let's see. Oh wow! So I have 3.5 hours to do this job. Wow. Yeah, there's no way. That's the problem with this. So looks like I'm not going to be able to do this. Because I'm going to be running late, right? Oh well. Oh, what the heck? It went back to the loading screen. So if I cancel this, do I still have to pay $12,000 for the external contracts? I don't know. We'll see. Oh, this would have been a cool delivery to do, but there's no way I can do this in 3 hours and 27 minutes in game time, and the trip time's going to take 37 hours, so there's no need to do this one. Oh, you don't have to pay. Well, that's good. That's only for the other ones, the freight market and the quick jobs. That's good to know. Oh! Wait, now I can do it. Because this says 24 hours. Oh wait, no, but that's still impossible. There's no way. So never mind about that. I guess I'll sort it out by highest price. Oh, here's some more. Here's a car delivery. Nope, that's too much. That's too much as well. Nope, that's not enough time. That one's way off. This one's a possibility. If I drive fast the entire time. What happens if I'm late? Do I lose money if I'm late? I know in the freight market and quick job you do, but I don't know in this one. I can just do this one. This one's not as long, and just see what happens. Okay, hauling some cars from Eureka, California to Spokane, Washington. It's not that far. A little bit, but that is like a third of the longest delivery I've ever done. Just about. Before I do that, how do I go to my World of Trucks website? I think there is a way you can do that on their Launchpad. If not, then I can just do it the old-fashioned way. What's new? I keep forgetting that that's on the bottom right. The what's new. That's weird. The SCS software has a TikTok account. That is kind of weird. I'm not a big fan of TikTok, just so you know. Alright, you know what? I'll just do this. There we go. Let's see, World of Trucks. Login. Okay. Because the Christmas event is finally over. And the Kansas event. Sign in. Is it? Okay, I guess it's email. Is this right? Yes, it is. Ah, here we go. Finally. Achievement unlocked. The Christmas Winterland. Look at this. Using external contracts, complete 15 deliveries to or from the 5 different depots in Winterland with at least 1 delivery to each. Yep, I've done that. Explore and enjoy the magic, fun, and festivities of Christmas like never before in our 2023 Christmas Winterland event. So what is this thing? Looks like some type of ornament. Oh, wow. So here's my stats. So for the World of Trucks contracts, I've done 93 jobs. Oh, this is in kilometers. I need to change that. I don't use kilometers. I know people in Europe do, and Canada. Here we go. No, that's for a Euro truck. Congratulations, and thanks for joining our special Christmas Winterland celebrations by delivering Winterland supplies and Christmas gift packs this season. Redeem your beautiful Winterland truck paint job. Ah, nice. Perfect for our Christmas Winterland theme, and with its customizable colors, you can match any one of the Christmas trailers during the event to continue with the community goal or take some stunning pictures as your memento for your exciting journey to Christmas Winterland. Alright. Well, I might have to use that for the next Christmas streams. Oh, I forgot my Steam password. Well, I have it on my phone, so it looks like I'm gonna have to get my phone right now. Oh, okay. My phone is already at 80%, so that just shows you how fast my phone charges. Steam. Alright, there we go. Oh, code. Just for safety purposes. Oh, I'm logged in on a different browser. I'm currently using Firefox instead of Microsoft Edge, so they just want to make sure it's really you. There we go. Yes, that's me. Success! The item has been redeemed. You can find it in your Steam inventory. And the last award, to our fantastic community, thank you for joining us in this magical journey. Thanks for the deliveries of supplies and Christmas gift packs, for all the fun, and for the effort you have made once again. Show just how caring and giving you all are. Christmas Winterland is a very special place, and now that you have been there and shared it with so many fellow truckers, we hope it's been an inspiring and delightful surprise for you this season of giving. We are now thrilled to provide you with your exclusive rewards. Redeem your festive Christmas Winterland rewards for your truck cabin. All rewards are tradable. Okay. Ooh. Oh, wow. We get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Christmas sweater cabin decoration, festive chocolates cabin decoration, golden North Star cabin decoration, Rudolph sleigh cabin decoration, and Winterland Christmas tree cabin decoration. My gosh. Okay. And I completed this like over a month ago. Alright. So I'll have to use these for this year's Christmas. Yeah, I know Christmas is like 10 months away, but you know, that'll be coming up fast. It did last year and the year before for me. Okay. So that is pretty much all I have to say. Now, let me look at the chat just to see if anyone said anything. Oh, AcerMani456. Hello there. I don't know if you're still here or not. But, sorry if you typed in the chat a while ago, because my phone was charging. But, it's okay. I'm not expecting many people anyways. But, yep, you're first. Anyway, that is my announcements. So, you know what I'm gonna do once I start playing? Listening to more football news, the road to the Super Bowl, I guess. You know, I'm sort of thinking, what if I played this game, I live streamed this game while I listen to the Super Bowl radio broadcast? Something different, right? Maybe I can do that. I don't know, we'll see. Yeah, for those of you that don't know, I think a lot of you guys don't know this, but I haven't watched a Super Bowl live in 6 years. This is 6 years. It's been 6 years since I last watched a Super Bowl live. Yep. Because I used to be a big fan of the NFL. But the past couple of years, well, it was all the way until 2019, 5 years ago. It The game where the Saints got screwed out of the Super Bowl. Yeah. Because, I live in South Louisiana, and that was my team to watch at the time. After that, man, I'm just like, how can I still be a fan of this league? Like, that just killed me. But then, the New Orleans Saints golden era came to an end when Drew Brees and Sean Payton left the team. So then I'm like, okay, we'll see what's next for that team. And then, a lot of the famous names retired. So we're in a different era of the National Football League. And the past year, I don't hate the league as much or dislike it. I don't dislike it as much, but I don't watch games hardly. But I would watch the Canadian Sports Center, TSN, with Jay Onrait. Yeah, I know, it's funny that I like to watch that version instead of the American version, especially when I don't live near anywhere. I can't talk. I don't live anywhere near Canada. But I have the Canadian sports channel, so that's what I would watch instead. Okay? By the way, I'm a big CFL fan. Canadian Football League. I love watching that in the summer. Yeah. And before that, we have the Spring Football League. The new Spring Football League, after the XFL and the USFL merged. It's called the UFL, the United Football League, run by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Yep. That'll start on March 30th. The first game of that league will be on March 30th. So I like those leagues more. I like spring and summer football. That's my favorite thing to watch when the time comes up. But during the fall and the winter, I'm not really interested in watching the NFL, I would watch something else. That's just me. So, but past couple of weeks, I've been listening to a lot of football news, and it kind of got me interested. Well, it's really college football and NFL news, because a lot of big news happened the past couple of weeks, especially after the season ended. A lot of coaches got fired, left the team, going to a different team, coaches being hired and all that. And that pretty much leads to the NFL playoffs, which, yes, I am aware of what is happening, what happened in the playoffs. I actually did a prediction. I don't think I did a prediction video. Wait, did I? No, yeah, I did. I think I did a prediction video of the playoffs, of me doing my bracket. And originally I had in the Super Bowl, I had the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Baltimore Ravens. So, yeah, my bracket's broken. My bracket's already broken after the Cowboys lost. And that was a shocker. That was a shocker to me. Because they looked like they were the best team. Or one of the best teams. And after that pretty much got me still want to listen to more football news. Because I want to hear all the guys' thoughts on this shocking news that happened, even though I'm not a big fan of it. But like I said, I don't hate it. I don't dislike the league as much. But, man, this year's Super Bowl, I'm not interested. We have a rematch from 4 years ago. And 4 years ago, I wasn't interested in that Super Bowl. So, that's why I'm not going to watch it again. But, if you want, maybe I can play this game while I'm listening to the game. Pretend it's my radio. I don't know. maybe I can do that. I sort of did that for a few baseball games on ESPN radio. Yeah. So, we'll see. But until then, we got some more football news to listen to. So yeah, more streams of this game until after the Super Bowl's over. Then I'm going to take a break playing this game, and I'm going to do something else. Okay? So, yeah. Hope you guys understand that. If not, that's too bad. Alright. So that is my announcements. I can't believe... Oh, I've been live for 40 minutes already. Oh. I gotta turn on my mini fan. It's starting to get hot in here. That's okay, because I'm going to mute my mic so you don't have to hear it. Speaking of my fan, I hear my computer fan. Normally, whenever I play a game, especially this game, Truck Simulator, I notice that my computer fan is louder, but I think that's normal. But when you're not playing the game, it's not loud. The fan isn't loud on your computer, so I think that's normal. But hey, it's been like that for the pretty much since the very beginning of this Truck Simulator series. Alright. Anyway, that's it, folks. I'm going to get back into this. I don't know how long this stream will be. It won't be like last time. Not that long, but it might be a few hours. Alright. So, more football news right now. While I do this external contract delivery, and we'll see what happens after that. I might do another one because this delivery won't be that long. It's not a crazy long one, but I just want to try this out. Okay. If you have anything to say in the chat, any questions, go ahead, and I'll do my best to respond back to you. Sometimes you'll have to be a little patient, because I don't want to pause the game so much and just to type my response. So, yeah. Anyway, that's it. Let's get back into more trucking and more football news right now.
No one has ever had the leverage that Dak Prescott had. Ooh, I like it. His cap hit next season is $59 million, and that's the last year of his deal. He has a no franchise tag clause. He has final authority on all trades. He has total control in a way that no football player ever has, including people who are free agents. Yeah. Free agents don't get to choose. They don't get to set their own market. His is already set at $59 million. So Dak needs to walk into Jerry Jones's office and say, this is where I want to go. Trade me there now. And Jeff, you know exactly where that should be.
The Atlanta Falcons. Do it. Oh, today. Go in there with the papers today. Let's get this thing fast forwarded. Go down. You got plenty of talent. You have, hopefully, Bill Belichick is going to be the coach, or somebody's going to be in there to make this and turn it. But they play good on defense. They have weapons on offense. And you're talking about a guy who's going to walk in and command that type of energy. And you're in the NFC South. And I'm not trying to knock conferences or divisions, but I will say,
They're bad.
It tends to be a little
The
easier.
champion of the division was 9-8.
I don't want to take a shot, but yeah, exactly. Like if you're 9-7, okay, that's our mark. Let's go get this thing. And so if I'm Dak Prescott, this is my guy. Just hand it to Jared.
After what they've had there, you don't think they're going to give him the contract that he wants? Wouldn't Atlanta give him that contract in the blink of an eye?
Arthur Blank today.
Adam Schefter with the very latest. Adam, what can you tell us about some breaking news in the NFL when we're talking about coaching decisions? Well, Kevin, moments ago, Jim Harbaugh is going to take the head coaching job with the Los Angeles Chargers. He's leaving Ann Arbor, Michigan. Finally, he is going to the NFL. He is getting a deal done with the Chargers that they are in the process of finalizing. He will be the new head man in Los Angeles with Justin Herbert as his quarterback. He was scheduled to go to Atlanta on Thursday, but that trip will not happen right now. He's going to be coaching for the Los Angeles Chargers. They're in the process of getting that deal done right now with him being the new head coach. And you look back on all the things that he did at Michigan, an 89-25 record, a 40-3 record in the last 3 years, 3 straight Big Ten titles, the AP Coach of the Year, and of course, 2023 national champions. But Jim Harbaugh essentially is now headed out, and he's going to be the head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers. He was a man in demand, and clearly his time was going to come here. He had dabbled a couple of years ago with the Minnesota Vikings. He talked to the Denver Broncos last year, and now, ironically enough, he winds up in the AFC West coaching with the Chargers. This is something that the two sides have been working on throughout the course of today. The Chargers were trying to get this deal done before he would go to Atlanta to visit the Falcons, who also were interested. And now this leaves 4 other vacancies. And it leaves one in Atlanta, where the Falcons met today with Mike Vrabel, where they've met with Bill Belichick. But Michigan now has an opening. They have a gaping hole there with a man who had changed the culture there in Ann Arbor, got things turned around, beat Ohio State, took Michigan to the Final Four in 3 straight years, and now, after a national championship, is now going to be leaving Ann Arbor to take the job with the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh gets that done. Obviously, huge news that will have massive reverberations across the NFL world and across the college football world, Kevin. Huge story, massive ramifications. What do you got for me?
So when we talk about Michigan, Jerome Moore was the guy that came in and actually coached the games that Harbaugh missed, those 6 games for Michigan during this fantastic run for them last year, dealing with a ton of adversity. My question to you specifically is, why the Chargers for Harbaugh when you have so many other options and choices?
Well, I think here's the deal. Michigan had an offer on the table to make him the highest paid coach in college football. And Michigan, though, could not offer him the chance to win a Super Bowl. And really, that's ultimately it. He would have loved to have stayed at Michigan. Michigan would have loved to have had him. But the fact of the matter is, the Chargers give him the ability to compete for a Super Bowl. And I think that Jim Harbaugh clearly was interested in LA. He was interested in Atlanta. But the first visit was to Los Angeles, to the Chargers. And because of that, that gave them, I believe, an advantage. And Atlanta had carried on its business. There are many factors that appeal about the Chargers, and I think you start with Justin Herbert. Everywhere that Jim Harbaugh has been, Kevin, he has turned around that program. He was a quarterback in San Diego with the Chargers.
Yep.
He has gone on. He knows the ownership group. He knows the Spanos family, and he is a huge Justin Herbert fan. So when this opportunity was presented to him, it was a question of whether the two sides can come to a common ground in terms of the infrastructure within the organization, on a contract, on a deal, and all those elements came together today to where now he's going to become the head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers. And I think the Falcons would have been in play, and I think that was an opportunity that really appealed to him. But the Chargers stepped up today, this afternoon, just now, to make it such that he wouldn't leave L.A. and get on that plane to go to Atlanta. Thus, he becomes the head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers.
And unfinished business in the NFL, because remember, before he took over the Michigan job, he was with the 49ers, and he lost in the Super Bowl to his brother John. That team felt really good going into halftime, and they lose that game to the Ravens as the head coach of the 49ers. Shefty, really good stuff there. John Harbaugh, make that Jim Harbaugh. Very busy week for the Harbaughs. John's getting ready for the Chiefs to get to the Super Bowl with his Ravens team, and brother Jim is now going to be the next head coach of the LA Chargers. Harbaugh becomes just the 5th coach in AP poll history to win a national title and not return with the team the following season. He's the first to do so since Tom Osborne retired after the 1997 title with Nebraska. He called this on First Take. That is Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A., you talked about this before plenty of times, even earlier this month. Specifically, Jim Harbaugh should be the next head coach of the Chargers. Why did you feel that way?
Well, first of all, let's get something out of the way. It was the incompetence of Brandon Staley. Let's get that out of the way first. If you recall, the day that they got blitzed by the Las Vegas Raiders, giving up about 63 points, I looked at my watch at 7:30 in the morning, L.A. time, because I was in L.A. at that time, and I said he should be fired, and he probably will be fired by 9:30, and the news was announced at 9:20. I was 10 minutes off. We all knew that a change needed to be made because the Los Angeles Chargers weren't what they're supposed to be. Justin Herbert is a stud. Austin Eckler can ball. Keenan Allen can ball. Khalil Mack can ball. Derwin James can ball. What the hell are these people doing on the outside looking in at the postseason when other teams were vying for playoff spots and challenging for a Super Bowl? The talent that existed on the Los Angeles Chargers, considering it's the second largest market in the United States of America, and you had a squad, a coach, and a GM that couldn't seem to get things right. Change needed to be made. So what do you do in return for that? You get a guy that was born in Palo Alto, starred as a coach at Stanford, went to the San Francisco 49ers, went to 3 conference championships in 4 years, plus a Super Bowl appearance. And some would argue if time hadn't run out, they might have beat the Baltimore Ravens that year. Then he goes to Michigan. He turns that program around. He wins a national championship. He beats up on Ohio State in the process, winning the last 3 Big Ten conference championships. The man in Jim Harbaugh has proven he's an exceptional coach, and there's one omission from his resume, and that is a Super Bowl championship. He's about to watch his brother, in all likelihood, win one himself. Unless Patrick Mahomes has something to say about that, he's got something to prove himself. His brother's already a champion on an NFL level. He wants to do the same. He's earned the right to do it, and the Chargers were smart to make sure that they got this done, because there's a lot of distractions in Los Angeles, California. The Chargers don't apply as one of them. You got to make sure that you're an attraction enough to be a distraction for others, and that's what they needed to do, and they did what they needed to do.
How about a draw, right? You're not coming in to see the opposing team. You're coming in to see the home team whenever they play at SoFi Stadium. That leaves one opening, though, one big opening. Who would have thought that Rose Bowl game would feature Nick Saban and Jim Harbaugh, and both of them would lead their programs? Now, at Michigan, Sharon Moore was the guy who filled in those 6 games when Harbaugh had to sit out. Your thoughts on that? An opening at Michigan right now with all these positions now being filled in the college space.
Well, the only issue I had with Coach Moore was the fact that I didn't understand why in God's name was he crying on national television after they won a game over Penn State, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
I didn't know what that was about. I was like, what's all the emotion about and all of this other stuff? It made no sense to me whatsoever. But outside of that, he did assist in them being undefeated in the 3 games that Jim Harbaugh was out. He did an exceptional job coaching. He's been a lead assistant for Jim Harbaugh, somebody that Jim Harbaugh has positioned to be the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines. And in light of the job that Jim Harbaugh has done in resurrecting this university and making them relevant again, considering all that he has given to the university, if he believes this guy should be the guy, and clearly he does, and he's positioned him to be his successor, then I think Michigan should take that very, very seriously and elevate this man and make him the new head coach for the reigning defending national champions.
Completely agree. Did a phenomenal job in the semifinal game, of course, the national championship game. And let me tell you, Stephen A., circle when the NFL releases their schedule and the dates, because we got a Jim versus John Harbaugh meeting. Ravens travel to L.A. SoFi. Cannot wait for that this upcoming fall. Good stuff, Stephen A.
One thing I will say, I really don't need to circle anything when it comes to going to SoFi. It's a pretty fly arena in a pretty fly city. We don't need excuses to go there.
Yeah, exactly. It's not far from where you're at right now. I know you will go there and circle that and be there for that game. Stephen A., thank you so much.
College Game Day Podcast. Pete Thamel here. And we are stretching into the NFL today. Our friend, Michigan graduate Adam Schefter joins us, ESPN's intrepid NFL insider. He broke the biggest news of the day, maybe the biggest news of the year in the college football space. Jim Harbaugh leaving Michigan for the Los Angeles Chargers, signing a 5-year deal. Adam, your immediate reaction to the news of Jim Harbaugh leaving Michigan in the wake of the national championship?
Well, Pete, Michigan was offering to make Jim Harbaugh the highest paid coach in college football. But the fact of the matter is, no matter what Michigan offered him, it couldn't offer him the chance to win a Super Bowl. There was just nothing that Michigan could do. And he had won a national championship there. He wants to go back to the NFL and win a Super Bowl. And I think once he won the national championship, and even if he hadn't won it, like, he had taken Michigan to the Final Four 3 straight years. He had turned around the program. They had beaten Ohio State. He made Michigan a national power again. He had returned the program to prominence. And because of all that, then it was a case of him wanting the next challenge, the next frontier. And with the money at the NFL level for coaches exploding, and with his bargaining powers being at their peak leverage abilities, this was the time to do it. To me, he was going to the NFL. As soon as the team made a compelling offer, the Chargers made that compelling offer. The Falcons might have. He was scheduled to meet with them on Thursday, but the Chargers stepped up on Wednesday, get the deal done, 5-year contract. Jim Harbaugh, head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers.
What do you think kept him from getting on the plane, Adam, to go to Atlanta?
Well, I think it's a situation of, can you basically come up with an agreement that's satisfactory for both sides, whatever that is, financially, with the structure in the organization, with the infrastructure, how it's going to be run. There are so many things that coaches know they need to make a program and an organization successful. So I think as Jim was going through his checklist, he got the things, financially and otherwise, that he needed, that he felt comfortable with, that made it such that he didn't get on that plane to go to Atlanta.
All right. Well, what's next at Michigan, Adam? What's your sense moving forward here?
Well, I think we got a glimpse of the future when we saw Sharon Moore. He stepped in. They went unbeaten under him. He has a lot of the qualities I think that school would be interested in. I think they'll look at some other people, but I think he goes into this as the undisputed favorite to get the job. And I think it'd be a major upset if he didn't get it in the end, Pete.
Yeah, and I think from what I've heard quickly tonight, since this news broke maybe an hour ago, we're here at 7:30 Eastern time. Adam is kind enough to pick up his head from his phone to join us on the Game Day podcast, that there is not an immediate sense of let's go launch a formal search, right? Like, there's a sense of, okay, there may be a call cast or two, but Sharon Moore's is the favorite, and if it's going to be Sharon Moore, I think it happens fairly quickly with the dynamics of the portal, and with Michigan want to protect its roster, having seen what's happened at Alabama, at Washington, not as much at Arizona to some extent. I think they do move fairly quickly. My understanding, Adam, is that Jesse Minter likely goes with Jim Harbaugh, the defensive coordinator who did a wonderful job in his 2 seasons there, and likely Jay Harbaugh, his son, who's a very accomplished special teams coach. He likely goes as well. Is that your early feel for the staff, Adam?
I don't think you said anything that I would disagree with, to my knowledge right now. Now, these things are always fluid. They can change.
Yeah.
But I agree with that. I think Sharon is the favorite. I think Jesse Minter winds up going with Jim. I think Jay Harbaugh winds up going with Jim. And we'll see if anything changes that in the future moving forward here now.
Yeah. What do you think Jim Harbaugh's legacy at Michigan is? He's obviously such a compelling character in the school's history, Adam. Dynamic quarterback, an all-time great player. Comes in, it's not linear, right? Takes him a few years to get there, has the COVID year in 20, and then obviously just goes on a 3-year rip here. How do you think his time at Michigan is remembered?
Well, you and I probably would have differing answers there, Pete, right? But I would say that Jim Harbaugh goes down as a legendary figure in the school's football program. Bo Schembechler, I don't believe, got them a national championship.
He did not. That's correct.
Jim Harbaugh did. So Jim Harbaugh outdid his predecessor in terms of winning national championships, and again restored prominence to that school and returned it to the way it was under Bo, where it was a superpower in college football. Sure. And, I remember when Jim took over, there were some of my friends who were like, he's like, time to get rid of him. time to move on from Harbaugh. Like, there were people that thought that 4 or 5 years ago. There were people that got impatient with him. And I could say, I always felt like he was the right guy, and he could be there as long as he wanted to be there. And he did exactly what he was born to do and set out to do, and that's make Michigan the type of program that all the people who went there, like myself, are obviously proud to be a part of that university and follow that school. And they've provided some tremendous moments. Like, you want your school to give you moments that you'll always remember. And I can tell you, I can count a number of those moments that Jim Harbaugh has given my friends, my family, and myself in recent years. Many of them. My son went to school there. He was there in the stands when Jim Harbaugh led his Michigan football team to a win over Ohio State. And my son sat in the stands with his buddies in disbelief that Michigan finally beat Ohio State in the snow when the big house was a snow globe and everybody was watching it. And I remember how excited I was that day. And I think back, to going to school there and graduating in '89. And if I could think of all my singular memories that school has created for me that day, which Jim Harbaugh helped author, would be in the top 5 most memorable days of Michigan sports moments. And there have been plenty in the 50 years that I've been associated with the university.
Yeah. No, it was very cool to see you on the sideline with your family before the title game. Didn't see you during the game, but imagine it was enjoyed and embraced. I do think we have to give Lloyd Carr a little love, right? He had a nice run between Bo and Jim, won a national championship, split Michigan's last title, which I think would have been right in the was like late 90s, right?
Yeah, 97.
97. That's right. That's because I was in school then. When they did win. Yeah, it is interesting to reflect back a little bit to 2020. Michigan goes 2-4. Rutgers takes them to overtime. They almost lose that game. They lose to Michael Penix in Indiana. And there was some consternation. I think that's probably when you heard most of that chirping from your friends, right? Like that was when
I don't remember, but I remember defending Jim. And I'm not just saying that now. I remember defending him to my friends. I remember defending him on Sports Talk Radio. We do enough radio shows, you and I, that you're on, and people would be like, "Oh, you went to Michigan. You think it's time to make a change?" And if somebody can find an interview where I said it was, that would be news to me, because every time I was asked that question, and it was a couple of dozen, I always said that Jim was the right guy for that school. I always believed that. And I still do.
How do you think Sharon Moore does, Adam? I don't know if you've been able to be around him a lot. I've got to know Sharon fairly well.
I know Sharon.
Last few years. Obviously, acquitted himself very well in the 4 auditions he had this year. Brought them, I think, a pretty distinct identity, getting the offensive line, the Joe Moore Award, not last season, but the 2 prior. What do you think? How do you think he takes the identity that Jim forged and puts his own twist on it?
Well, I think we saw him do that, in the 4 games that he coached. It was 4 games or 3? I thought it was 3. It was 4.
So it was 3 at the end in the Big Ten suspension, and then he had 1 of the first 3. 4 altogether. He had, because I think he was suspended for 1 of the first ones, and then he had, I believe, the 3rd game to start the season, and then he had the 3-game Big Ten suspension to end the year, which included Penn State. Obviously, I think that was probably his signature moment when they ran the ball 32 straight times or whatever. I mean, I would
say this. Is there a coach in Michigan football history that has a higher winning percentage than Sharon Moore? No.
I don't think so.
No.
Fielding Yost has nothing on him. Yeah.
No, that's exactly right.
It's fairly, it's pretty interesting. And I do think if he's the choice, which I think we both are fairly convicted that he is, I think we see a pretty quick move because of some of the dynamics of the portal, Adam. You have Will Johnson, Colston Loveland, Kenneth Grant, Mason Graham. I think all 4 of them are, if not first-round picks, top 40 to 50 picks next year. I think say and leave. I think that is a little bit of a signal flare to Michigan that, let's be prudent here, but let's not drag our feet, and let's keep this momentum going. And there's a difference lead, a program coming off a national title and taking that momentum as opposed to the way some of the others ended. But I think,
by the way, you mentioned 17, and I remember at the start of the year, Pete, people around the program were talking to me about the football team and how good it would be, and they said to me that last year, I don't remember how many Georgia had drafted when they won the national championship, but they said that Michigan would beat that record, that they would have 18 players drafted this upcoming draft in the 2024 draft. So are there 17 guys who are eligible for the draft? Again, we're in your turf here, but
Sure.
They told me that they thought they would have 18 players drafted. Can you address that?
I don't think it ends up that high, and a little bit because Donovan Edwards comes back at him, right? He's a guy who was one of those swing guys they probably count. I think going into the year, especially after the way he played against Ohio State last season, NFL evaluators saw the diamondism and said, "Hey, this is a guy who could end up going out. He could have got drafted. I give him a lot of credit. He might not be a top 50 guy next year, but he's a top 100 guy next year for sure. I mean, he's he's got some burst. Had a nice finishing kick there, obviously in the title game.
Great kick. Yep.
Yeah, I'm still not sure why they didn't give him the ball a little bit more there in the first half because he was pretty effective with the averaging 60 yards a carry going forward there. For our NFL audience, obviously it's the Game Day podcast. We're more college centric. How do you see the pairing of Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert?
Well, I think that's a quarterback that Jim feels very strongly about, really likes and admires, and that would be one of the drawing cards of the Chargers organization, that Justin Herbert is this great quarterback. And Jim really has, as you know, turned around every place he's been. He's gotten the best out of his quarterbacks. And I think that they're banking on him doing the same with the Chargers in LA this year, him taking over with Justin Herbert and maximizing his potential in a division that has Patrick Mahomes, Sean Payton, and the quarterback that the Broncos wind up with. So there's some questions, but the AFC is loaded, and Jim Harbaugh is stepping right into the thick of it. But the Chargers are confident that he will be the guy to turn around that team. They know him well. He was a quarterback there, played the Chargers, played for the Chargers as a quarterback, and now he's going to coach the Chargers as a head coach.
Yeah, my favorite Jim Harbaugh, the NFL stat, is that he will have opening day next season the highest winning percentage of any active NFL coach. I think it's a hair below 70%. He obviously had a great 4-year run in San Francisco.
Well, I would say this, that if the Ravens happen to win the Super Bowl, we have a built-in opening night game between the Ravens and the Chargers and the Harbaugh brothers on opening night.
Yeah, NFL likes storylines like that. Joni Crean should book a week in the summer for interviews for to get ready for the brother storylines again, like she had there. Let's leave you with this, Adam. One last bonus Michigan NFL question. J.J. McCarthy obviously declares for the draft. He's a guy that I would say in August when I talked to scouts they liked, but they thought he could play his way into that sort of, we called it then the number 3, but I think Jaden Daniels probably surpassed him with his Heisman winning season. Where do you think J.J. McCarthy's range is right now in the draft when you peek ahead going forward in the wake of leading Michigan on this undefeated season?
First of all, I think it would have helped him if Jim took the Atlanta job. I think that would have been a natural match made, and I think Jim would have taken wherever the Falcons are picking him. I really believe that.
I think they're at 8.
That might be a little high, but I still view JJ as a potential first-round pick. That's how I view him. And we'll see where he goes in the draft. But obviously, the Chargers won't be taking him. As much as Jim Harbaugh loves and respects JJ McCarthy, the Chargers, I believe, are out unless Jim wants to make another big story, go draft JJ McCarthy and auction off Justin Herbert to the highest bidder, which would be quite a story there as well. But with all the guaranteed money that they gave him, I don't think that's possible. So we could diffuse that storyline right here, right now, Pete.
Is this a statement for the Chargers as a franchise? Sort of following this story, I learned a good bit about the Spanos family and how it's gone. They have not chosen star power on the sideline in their last 3 choices. They've been fine coaches, but they haven't been, like, hey, we're in Hollywood, we're gonna draw some eyeballs. Is this a bit of a statement higher for them as a franchise, Adam?
I think so. I think, look, you want to be relevant in that market. You want to have a star. Jim's a coaching star. Jim brings relevancy. So all those factors make it such that essentially I think that it's a natural match.
All right. Adam Schefter, ESPN star, kind enough to join us on the Game Day podcast. Adam, breaking the biggest news in the sport, our sport and his sport today. Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers. An era ends at Michigan and another soon begins. Thanks for listening to the College Game Day Podcast.
Who's got it better than us?
All right, welcome in. It's not an emergency edition of Always College Football, but it's basically that. Just moments ago, well, last night to be exact, Jim Harbaugh has officially taken the head coaching job of the Los Angeles Chargers. So we had alarm bells going off here at the ACF Twitter text feed, We're texting each other, when can we go? When can we go? So we're all kind of scrambling. So this is going to be an unscripted Always College Football. So if you're coming here today for like stat breakdown, wins against replacement, EPA, and fourth down conversion rate, we're not going to have that today. I'm just going to kind of flow freely on what my thoughts were about Jim Harbaugh's tenure, what he meant for Michigan, what he meant for college football. Because in a roundabout way, I do think he helped your team. You might not agree, but I do think in a roundabout way he probably did. So we will talk a lot about Jim Harbaugh today. We'll also talk about what Michigan does moving forward. And then finally, how does it impact the Big Ten? The other teams that are now joining the league, does this benefit them or does this hurt them? I think you probably know the answer to some of the schools. Will it help or will it hurt? I think a lot of people are very, very happy that Jim Harbaugh is going back to the National Football League. So let's start there with Jim Harbaugh taking the head job for the Los Angeles Chargers. So breaking news last night in the world of college football, Jim Harbaugh has stepped away from his alma mater to take a position in the NFL. We had talked for a long time that it could be going down. We had said, well, there's a lot of buzz. Even before the season, every single year, it was like, is this the year? Is this the year? Well, it turns out after restoring glory to his alma mater, he finally feels like the Los Angeles Chargers are the best job, and he is going to take his talents to the NFL. And I think most Michigan fans, and I think most college football fans, whether you like him, dislike him, hate him, love him, whatever, however you feel, I think all of us are kind of appreciative to an extent of his time back in the sport. Because he did restore order, not through the lens of an Ohio State Buckeye, perhaps, but he at least gave Ohio State a hurdle that they had to go over en route to a championship for a handful of years, from 2015 or so on, all the way through 2019 when things started to kind of unwind and derail, 2017 or whatever it was, when things started to derail for him. And then the last 3 years in the sport, we've all been benefited, to an extent, by the amount of money and the eyeballs and all the things that have come to the sport as a result of the game between Ohio State and Michigan. And I don't think it would be as popular or as significant or have 20 million viewers if Ohio State was 3, 4, 5 touchdowns better than the Wolverines on a week-to-week basis. So whether you like them, dislike them, no matter how you feel about Jim Harbaugh, your school might have benefited from him. And frankly, what I'm grateful to Jim Harbaugh for is that he proved over the last handful of years that what has worked forever in the sport, what has worked forever in football at all levels, controlling the line of scrimmage, being physical defensively, imposing your will by running the football against a team that knows you're going to run the football, by taking a little bit of power away from the quarterback position, not necessarily in the pre-snap, but taking away a little bit of the responsibility offensively from the quarterback to revert more to a team-oriented style of attack. And I am grateful for that because I've always appreciated that style of football. It's the style of football I grew up with there in the 90s, where it's about running backs and running the football and pounding it and all these other things. And even the early 2000s, I loved that brand of football. And the spread era has been fun. I love it. It's a lot of fun. I've enjoyed learning new offenses and learning new technologies and identities and tendencies. Those things are all great. But I also appreciate when it's done the way it's always been done. And that's what Jim Harbaugh did over the last few years. I think the world saw the sport going in a certain direction. right? In the realm of more, air raid philosophies, in a realm of more, Baylor style of attack, where they spread it vertically with an athletic quarterback, move around and push the ball down the field. It felt like that was where we were going, and everyone was going to kind of adopt that style of offense. Jim Harbaugh said, no, we're going to go back to doing it the way I did at Stanford, and we're going to do it out of more modern looks, out of shotgun, out of pistol, but we're still going to do the things I did with Toby Gerhart and Andrew Luck, en route to several impressive performances over the course of their careers. So I am grateful to Jim Harbaugh for that fact. The other thing I'm kind of intrigued by is he ruffled some feathers. And if we think back early in the 2015, 2016, he thought outside the box. And there were two things, for example, that I thought will always be memorable about his tenure, outside of the obvious success he's had the last 3 years. But the way he could ruffle feathers and push the envelope. Now, people will interpret it in a bunch of different ways, and I can already see it now. Comments flying in about Connor Stallions and, pushing the envelope. I get it. I understand that. But he pushed the envelope on the recruiting trail. Remember, he did those satellite camps in the southern part of the United States when the SEC was gobbling up all these recruits. All these recruits, because all the recruits had to do was drive to one of those locations in the Southeastern Conference and say, yeah, I think I'll play there. He went and took his show on the road. And he went to recruits and brought the entire staff, put them through a camp, and allowed guys to work with their coaches in a camp setting. And that ruffled a lot of people's feathers. James Franklin followed suit. Others from the Big Ten footprint came down to the Southeast and started to do these satellite camps. So that was something that I will always remember. Another thing that I'll always remember about Jim Harbaugh was just the things that he would kind of do on game day. The chances that he would take at times. Very important, critical down and distance, and knowing that you're going to get power plus, and that's going to be just the way it was. Like, there's just so many great things about Jim Harbaugh's tenure. I also think that it was cool for me as an outside observer. It was cool to see someone spurn overtures on an annual basis, because I think you really, really took great pride in coaching his alma mater. I think coaching your alma mater is one of the coolest things that you could have in the sport, because you've walked those shoes, walked those tunnels as a player. You've walked those hallways as a guy that was there your most impressionable age. That place is going to be special to you, no matter what. But to go back and to see where it was, for him to come in, have immediate success. Remember, he was a couple inches away on a fourth down stop or a fourth down whatever it was in 2016 from getting to the playoffs on his own right. Like, they were good, very good early. And then the league changed and got away from him a bit. And then after 2020, they pressed the reset button and they reverted back to what Jim Harbaugh is most comfortable with. But I think it was really neat to see them try to kind of follow suit in the way that the sport was going. Remember, they had Josh Gaddis. They were going to RPO. They were going to start throwing all over the yard. That was kind of where they were trending. It felt like that was where they were going, and that was an inevitability that they were going to become an RPO team. And then they decided to change back and say, nope, no more RPO. We're going to commit to the run game. We're going to commit to offensive line play. We're going to get elite running backs, and we're going to take it the distance. And to see them get over the hump in 2021, it's one of those games that even without a dog in the hunt, I was fortunate that week to be calling the Egg Bowl. So I actually had Saturday to just watch college football. And to know that that game was followed by the Iron Bowl was like the craziest 7 hours of my life. That Iron Bowl that went to double overtime, triple overtime in Auburn, right? It was insane. Long story short, I remember when they got over the hump for the very first time, and the fashion with which they got over the hump. Just absolute dominance on the defensive side. Slowing down an offense that a lot of us that day thought, man, that team is unstoppable. Ohio State is cooking. Like, C.J. Stroud's getting more comfortable. Their receivers are off the charts. And then for Michigan to just completely shut them down was remarkable. And then the next year, to see the big plays that were created against Ohio State. I mean, just 60, 65, 70-yard plays. multiple in the fourth quarter alone to turn that thing and just put it on ice. After Ohio State started the way they did. Remember, Ohio State got out to a lead in that game, and it wasn't until they hit Cornelius Johnson on a big catch and run the game kind of became in the balance. So that, I thought, was an also remarkable performance. But this year, to do what they did in the final 4 games of the year, because the championship, amazing. Semifinal, amazing. Big Ten championship, fine. I have to bridge the gap somewhere. But the win against Ohio State was an amazing performance. It was a great defensive performance. They had a couple big turnovers in the game. They ran the ball pretty efficiently for the most part, relatively speaking. They had the big hitter right after Zach Zinter got hurt. So there's a lot to celebrate about what transpired over the last 3 years, and to culminate with restoring order for the Michigan program by bringing home their first undisputed national championship since 1948 is pretty remarkable. I know they won one in 97. I understand that, but it was split. The last time it was undisputed was 75 years ago. So for Jim Harbaugh to do that at his alma mater is amazing. Now, where does Michigan go from here? And I think that this is about as much of a slam dunk as you could possibly imagine. I love to sit here and try to make a real credible argument on behalf of anyone not named Sharon Moore. And don't get me wrong, there are excellent football coaches out there that would absolutely desire this job. It is a highly desirable job. I would imagine that there are coaches right now that are on the phone begging for a chance to interview at Michigan. Just for a chance, just to have that possibility, even if it's a 1% chance, a 1 in a million chance, Lloyd Christmas style, you're saying there's a chance. So a lot of people would love that chance. I just don't know how you can possibly, if you're Ward Manuel and you're going through this coaching search, how does the coaching search not start and stop with Sharon Moore? I can't justify it. Now remember, we just talked for 10 minutes about what Jim Harbaugh emphasized and the offensive line play and making sure that they are really physical along the line of scrimmage. And the group that sets the tone on the team, more often than not, when it comes to physicality, is the offensive line. The offensive line and the defensive line. It's simple as that. Those are the groups that set the tone. Absolutely, 100%. So, when you look at the offensive line the last few years and the continuity that they've had and the fact that they've had turnover, and yet that group has maybe not always been playing at a ridiculous level. I mean, 2 straight Joe Moore awards is pretty dang solid. To be a finalist or at least a semi-finalist this year tells you all you need to know. But they've lost some guys. They've had to mix some pieces. And guess what? That group just was steady Eddie, man, for the last 3 years. That is the testament of quality leadership. And at the head coaching position, I want quality leadership. I think Sharon Moore is that guy. I also think, too, don't you want to just kind of keep things going? You already got a dress rehearsal 6 times this year. 40% of your best season in 15, 16 years. Well, 15, 16. Try 25, 26. Brain, all right? Not working at 100%, clearly. Best season in 25, 26 years, and this guy was the head coach or the acting head coach for 40% of it, including by far your 2 most difficult tests in the regular season. Now, there is an argument to be made that, man, a guy with, real head coaching experience would be really valuable taking over a situation like this, and I don't disagree with that. I think having head coaching experience is always super valuable. I've always kind of believed in the idea that, well, you become, if you're in college, all right, you're a GA, and then you get a position coach job, then you get a coordinator job, and then you get a head coaching job, and then you get a head coach job at a G5 level, then you get a head coach job at a P5 level. Like, that's what I've always just thought was maybe the best way of kind of finding a head coach. But that's not always the case. Not when you want to keep the status quo. And Sharon Moore is the perfect example of a guy that could keep the status quo. The best era in my lifetime of Michigan football has happened in the last 3 years. Well, don't you want to just keep a good thing going? Should they interview other candidates? Sure. I'm not against that. I'd absolutely like to hear what a couple people have to say, and just out of sheer curiosity, I'd really like to know who all's interested. I think a lot of folks would be really interested in finding that information out as well. But it's going to be really interesting because there's going to be a boatload of candidates that want this. I just don't know how you can justify looking over Sharon Moore. And while Michigan fans might hate this idea, we might hate this and resent this, and while I totally understand why you feel that way, there's a pretty good example of a guy that was promoted from the offensive coordinator spot in your division that might be a rival that's been really dang good. Now, I know Ohio State fans aren't super thrilled with what Ryan Day has done on an annual basis. Losing to Michigan 3 straight years, that's a tough pill to swallow. I'm not trying to say that it isn't. But he's taken Ohio State to the promised land, the playoff. He has gotten them in a position to knock off, at the time, a defending national champion. So I think when you look at what's gone on at the school that you loathe the most, and the fact that the transition from Urban Meyer to Ryan Day really wasn't too bad. They haven't really skipped a beat, frankly, outside of losing to you the last couple of years. I would think you'd want to maybe apply the same logic. You don't want to skip a beat from Jim Harbaugh to the next guy. You don't want to alter the culture. You don't want to have a lot of turnover within the administrative staff. You don't want a lot of turnover amongst the assistant coaches. So how do you avoid some of that? By promoting from within and keep a good thing going. So I think Sharon Moore is the most logical choice, but it will be fascinating to see just how many people are potentially flocking to a job that is clearly highly desirable. The other thing that we need to kind of figure out here, what does this mean for the Big Ten as a whole? Now, I've already seen the running joke. I've seen it, whether it be on social media or maybe people even mentioning it when I was at dinner a little while ago and found out about this information. People are suggesting that the reason why Harbaugh's leaving is because look how loaded Ohio State's going to be this year. Like, come on. Like, let's be real. All right, no, that's not accurate. There have been multiple times in which Harbaugh has turned down NFL jobs because he didn't quite feel like they got where they wanted to go. So I think he's very much at peace with this decision. I think he's got a great opportunity in front of him with the Los Angeles Chargers with an established quarterback in a division that is remarkable. Think about Chargers now with Harbaugh. You got the Raiders, who finished pretty strong. You got Russ Wilson, all right, in Denver, who I know is not playing great, but his coach, he'll be entertaining and speak on Russ's behalf. And then you got Patrick Mahomes. So I'm excited to see what happens in the AFC West moving forward. That's not a conversation for this show. But look at the Big Ten right now. And the Big Ten is in such a state of transition. And there might be an identity crisis in the Big Ten. Not in a bad way. Like, you're going to think crisis as if it's bad. It's not. It's just, is the athleticism and the speed that the Oregons of the world possess, or USCs of the world possess, is that going to win out over the blunt, forced trauma that has been the Big Ten for the last however many years? Century, perhaps? Thereabouts? What's won in the Big Ten has always been ground and pound. Always. And yes, there have been elite quarterbacks that have played in systems that have put those quarterbacks in great position to be successful. But Taulia Tagovailoa is the second leading all-time player passing yards in the history of Big Ten football, if I'm not mistaken. That's off the top of my head. I think he's first, second, whatever he is. He's up there, all right? But this is a league that if you look at the running back numbers, it's like one super elite running back after another super elite running back after a Heisman Trophy, two Heisman Trophies, you name it. So this is a league that's always been about ground and pound and physicality, but there is a new era coming to town. And there's 4 teams that can run. And I'll be curious to see what wins out. I don't know the answer to that. I don't even know if Big Ten coaches at the time, right now, know the answer to that. Do you want to be a team that emphasizes speed on the perimeter and play games on the perimeter, or do you want to play the game in the phone booth? That's what we got to figure out. We're not going to know that just yet. But we know how Jim Harbaugh wanted to play. We know how Michigan has had success playing. Against speed teams, power teams, didn't matter. They were going to run it. They were going to run it. They were going to run it again. So how will this all work out? The greatest beneficiary to this is Ohio State. I don't know how anyone could push back on that. The second greatest beneficiary to this is Penn State. James Franklin can beat everybody except for Ryan Day and Jim Harbaugh, at least in the last handful of years. So those two are going to benefit immediately from Jim Harbaugh moving to the NFL. Not saying anything negative about Sharon Moore. He might be better than Jim Harbaugh for all we know. I have no idea. David Shaw ended up being pretty dang good at Stanford after Jim Harbaugh left. So maybe Sharon Moore will end up being and having a career like David Shaw had, which people will say, well, he never won a championship. You try winning that many games at Stanford and tell me how easy it is. All right? David Shaw was really dang good. So maybe that's what Sharon Moore will be. But here in the immediate, the optics will now lead me to believe that Ohio State and Penn State, both of whom were beaten by Sharon Moore as the acting head coach last year, they stand to benefit the most from this move. No doubt about it. Other teams stand to benefit. Jonathan Smith and Michigan State. New head coach, in-state rival. They've actually played Michigan very, very well in the last 10 years. I don't know what their record is against Michigan, but I would imagine it's a coin toss. Thereabouts. So they stand to benefit from this. Because, hey, when you have some turnover, you have some change, you have some loyalties, maybe those loyalties now are up in the air for both teams that are replacing head coaches, Michigan State and Michigan. They stand to benefit. Other teams, I don't know how they benefit yet. To be honest, how often are Oregon and Michigan going toe-to-toe in recruiting? I don't know the answer to that. I'm not a recruiting guru. Don't pretend to be. Do my best. Subscribe to all the sites. ESPN, On3, 247. Subscribe to them all. Love them all. Rivals. If I'm forgetting one, I'm sorry. I subscribe to them all. I think they're great. I let those people handle recruiting battles and pipelines. I just trust them. I don't know. I don't know who they're going head-to-head against. I know they went head-to-head against a lot with Michigan, was Washington. Washington, they fought on every kid. Now, part of that had to do with Courtney Morgan, who's the player development guy, the recruiting guy, the GM, if you will. He's now at Bama with Kalen DeBoer, but he helped build Washington. He also helped build Michigan, so there were a lot of battles that they intersected. But I don't know how it relates to USC. I'm not sure how it affects UCLA or Oregon. As far as the other teams in the Big Ten, they were all looking up at Michigan anyways, so everyone, to a certain extent, stands to benefit. Maybe Michigan will come back to earth a little bit. I don't necessarily think that's likely, but it's certainly possible. That's for sure. But it's a fascinating move that's going to rattle everybody in college football. I think it's a great move, to be honest with you. And I don't know a single Michigan friend of mine or a Michigan fan that I've seen that isn't very, very grateful and appreciative for Jim Harbaugh. But we're good. We're going to be in good shape. That's the sentiment, or so it appears, amongst the Michigan brass. So grateful, so appreciative, totally get it. Go win your Super Bowl, man. We support you all the way. You're a Michigan man, and we appreciate you. But they feel really good, I think, about where the program's at, its current standing, and I can't imagine, regardless of where this hire goes. And if it goes anywhere other than Sharon Moore, I'd be shocked. But if it does, the program's still going to be in remarkably good hands.
I can't believe you made the comparison of Ryan Day to Sharon Moore. I'm not sure Michigan will do that just because of that. But joking around, question, do you think Michigan learned anything from what Alabama went through 2 weeks ago when Nick Saban retired? If Jim Harbaugh is now gone, what can they do to keep their roster in place over the next 30 days?
Well, it's a good question. And there is some speculation, I guess you could call it a conspiracy theory, that this was a slam dunk that Harbaugh was going to the Chargers from the jump, and he delayed and created more leverage for himself, while also at the same time kind of forcing the hand of the players. So now that the portal is open for the next 30 days, how many guys can realistically enter and find a home on the other side where their eligibility won't possibly be impacted? I mean, we're 3 weeks into term, 2 weeks into term. I don't know what the drop date is on some of their classes. I don't know how late you can transfer and still be eligible the following semester. I don't know. I'm not going to try to pretend to I know. I don't know. I do know that a lot of people think that. Whether that's true or not, I have no clue. But I do know that he probably just got paid handsomely. I know his request was for $18 million. Him and Don Yee, his agent, that was what he wanted. Did he get there? I don't know. They won't release publicly what the salary figure was. But I do think it'll be very interesting because there might be a player or two that is super loyal to Jim Harbaugh and Jim Harbaugh alone, and they want to consider their options. But I think it's unlikely. At this point, you're several weeks removed from the transfer portal being really moving. Will there be a guy or two that'll jump in? Probably. But if they promote from within and they keep things going the way they've been doing them, I can't imagine some ridiculous amount of turnover as compared to what Alabama went through a couple weeks ago when it was a completely different staff and a completely different scheme, both offensively and defensively.
My last question here. I think Michigan fans will agree that Harbaugh is probably the best coach in the modern history of football for them. You know, I mean, the undisputed national championship and 10-win season.
Who's
6
arguing
of them.
it? You got Lloyd Carr coming
Lloyd
up?
Carr, yeah. Lloyd Carr had a good numbers, but, you know, it's the split tie versus the full one. So I guess my question is, outside of Ann Arbor, what do you think Jim Harbaugh's legacy is to the rest of the college football world? You mentioned ruffling the feathers. He's won at Stanford. He won at Michigan. I'm just curious what you think his legacy is. Where does he stand?
I think he's. I think a lot of people don't like him. You know, and there are aspects of what transpired this last year that make people really, really frustrated. Like I've kind of said, I don't think that the sign stealing saga is as significant as some people have suggested. I don't think it impacts the outcome of games personally. Like that's just my thought. I might be the crazy one. Perfectly fine with that. If that's the way you feel, I totally get it. But I don't think that he's viewed very favorably because of that aspect. I think because of, you know, he's just kind of, he's quirky and I also think too, some of the things that transpired early in his tenure at Michigan with satellite camps and all that stuff just really rubbed people the wrong way. Remember, he was also taking his team to Europe too at the same time. They would go and they'd have a spring practice week in Europe. That was like some extravagant expense that no one else could afford. You know, it was pretty significant. So I think that for the most part, people respect the program he built. I think people acknowledge that he's an elite coach for sure, but I don't think on the whole he's viewed very favorably by college football fans because of the apparent shortcuts that people believe he took. A couple news and notes to clean up. Will Rogers is out of the transfer portal. He's going to stay at Washington after all. I think this is a good move, too, by the way. I look at what Jed Fish asked Noah Fafita to do. I looked at what he asked Jaden Delore to do the last couple years. I think it's actually a really good fit offensively for Will Rogers. Now, it's not going to be the traditional air raid that he ran at Mississippi State for several years prior to transitioning last year for the one-off. But I think this is a good fit for him. Now, remember, this is a guy that's really had a highly productive career. He was the number 2 all-time leader in the SEC when he put his name in passing yards, when he put his name in the transfer portal. Now, understandable, after Kalen DeBoer left, he decided to enter the portal again, but didn't seem like that was going to happen when Austin Mack decided to go with him. It felt, and then there's got Jalen Milroe there as well. It just didn't seem like there was going to be a home in Tuscaloosa for Will Rogers. He talked to a bunch of schools, according to ESPN, but ultimately decided that Washington made the most sense. So I think it's a great decision, by the way. He's likely going to be the starting quarterback. You look at the other quarterbacks on the roster for Washington. Michael Penix, NFL. Dylan Morris going to James Madison. Austin Mack went to Alabama. And Will Haskell's in the portal. So Washington's 2024 quarterback signee, DeMarcus Davis, also was leaving after everything decided to go down. So it's like there's a lot of movement at the quarterback. I think this was a need for Washington to retain Will Rogers. So I think it was a solid decision by him to stay where he's at and just let's figure this thing out and run an offense that maybe you are, I think well suited to run with your skill set. LSU decided to promote their quarterback coach Joe Sloan to offensive coordinator. Him and along with wide receivers coach Cortez Hankton are going to serve as co-offensive coordinators. That's according to 247 Sports. Now, Joe Sloan will handle the play calling duties, but this was kind of an interesting turn because there were some names and some scuttlebutt who it could be, what direction they might go. But if you look at what they did in the ReliaQuest Bowl, they put up 493 yards of offense against Wisconsin, who is a very proud team on the defensive side of the football. Wisconsin had allowed just 340 yards per game heading into the game. And for you to put up nearly 500 with a backup quarterback and to know that some of your top playmakers only played for a half, I think is massive. I mean, Garrett Nussmeier was super comfortable as well. I mean, he threw for 395 in the game and 3 touchdowns in his first career start. So I think it was a good move. Hey, you got a good thing going down there offensively. Promote from within. I think it'll work out just fine. So that was a good decision by Brian Kelly to just stay in-house and figure out what they want to be offensively. Arizona, they've had so much turnover the last couple weeks. Dave Hickey is out as the athletic director after 7 years. They are also losing Jonah Coleman from Arizona, their running back. He's headed to Washington. As far as Hickey is concerned, it was a little bit of a surprise. Not a significant surprise given the fact that there's a lot of issues from a budgetary standpoint there at the university. There's a university-wide $240 million miscalculation of projected cash on hand. So that's a huge problem. They've had hiring freezes and pauses on construction projects, and the athletic department is still on the hook to pay $55 million loan that they took during the pandemic. So it was a very tumultuous time there in Arizona. Now, Hickey's time in Tucson is actually probably going to be remembered in a lot of ways somewhat favorably. I mean, he hired Jed Fish, who led a turnaround. He hired the basketball coach Tommy Lloyd, who was the 2022 National Coach of the Year, and he just hired Brent Brennan as the new head football coach for Arizona. So it was interesting that they decided to allow him to hire the next football coach, and then they fired him. So I thought the timing of that was unusual, but worth noting for sure that there were some good things that actually were done during Hickey's time there in Tucson. And then finally, on a sad note, as a dog lover myself, and as someone that has always been very fond of live mascots, man, bummed to see that UGA 10, the winningest mascot in Georgia football history, passed away just a couple days ago. English Bulldog patrolled the sideline for the most successful run in Georgia Bulldogs football history, and he was 10 years old. He was known as Q, by the way, which I did not know until like 7 or 8 years ago. I did not know that UGA's name was not UGA. If you didn't know that, that's fun fact of the day. I didn't. So up until 7 or 8 years ago, I was sitting there on the SEC Nation set in 2015, and UGA came up. I'm like, hey, UGA, and patting him and everything. He goes, no, that's not his name. I'm like, what do you mean it's not his name? His name is UGA. I mean, everybody knows that. No, his name's Q. Oh, well, shoot. All right. Sorry about that. I met him right around the time that he was announced. At the age of 2, he was in a collaring ceremony there on November 21st of 2015. And during an 8-year tenure as a mascot, Georgia went 91-18, including 2 national championships, 2 SEC titles, and made 7 New Year's Six Bowl appearances. So rest in peace, UGA. Rest in peace, Q. And thoughts and prayers to all those that had loved the Bulldog mascot. Just sad to see him pass, but I know they'll have it. I know he had a great life, and I know he was well loved by so many members of the Athens community. That'll do it for us here at Always College Football. Please continue to like, rate, and subscribe. It helps us. I really appreciate all of you guys for all that you guys have done to help us grow over the last year and change. So we appreciate you. Know that we see you. Know that we continue to do this because we know that you guys love it the way we love it. So please continue to support us by subscribing, by liking, hitting that thumbs up button on the bottom of the YouTube page, subscribing to the ESPN College Football channel, and of course download the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. So for all of us here at Always College Football, from Mark, Jake, Jack, the other Jack, I'm Greg. We hope you have a wonderful day, and remember, it's always college football. Hey guys, it's Greg McElroy. Thanks for watching Always College Football. Make sure you like, rate, and subscribe to ESPN's YouTube channel and wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Who's got it better than us?
Nobody. Paul Feinbaum ready to comment on the big story. Jim Harbaugh leaving Michigan fresh off his national championship. He will coach Justin Herbert and the Los Angeles Chargers, and that is the way it is being phrased everywhere you look. He's not going to L.A. He's going to coach Herbert, according to our Adam Schefter, who will join us later. Harbaugh has agreed to a 5-year deal. How good of a coach has he been? About as good as you can possibly be. Everywhere he's gone, he has won. At the college level, his team set all of them set single-season program records for wins. Of course, he took the 49ers from a team that hadn't been in the playoffs in years to 3 consecutive NFC Championship games and was this close to winning a Super Bowl in a game against his brother about a decade ago. So here he comes back. Here's our squad. And Paul Feinbaum, I will start with you. You were the first person I thought of yesterday. We don't have Jim Harbaugh to kick around anymore, although at the very end there in college, he
find someone new.
He turned the tables. What is your reaction to Harbaugh leaving Michigan, headed to coach Herbert in L.A.?
Well, he's going to the right place, Greedy, because even Steven Spielberg in Hollywood could not have come up with a more unbelievable script. Here's a guy that 3 years ago nearly gets fired at the University of Michigan. His contract is cut in half. What does he do? He wins the national championship. And don't forget, 2 years ago, he literally waits in the waiting room, eating snacks, while the Minnesota Vikings are about to call him in, and they turn him down. It's absolutely humiliating. He tucks his tail. He goes back to Michigan, and what does he do? He makes 3 straight runs to the playoffs. He wins the national championship, and then he leaves behind a very complicated legacy, but a national championship.
Absolutely. We'll dive into the college part of this in a few minutes because I think there's a lot there. And as I mentioned, Schefter will join us a little later, but Kmart, I come to you for the insight. This always felt like a marriage waiting to happen, and now it has.
Yeah, this pretty much was the worst kept secret in the NFL. Everybody you talked to expected this to happen. Now, it was always an attractive situation because why? Because they got a franchise quarterback. And if you got that, that's half the battle. But in Los Angeles, there are questions about the roster. It's an aging roster, salary cap issues. There are a lot of things happening, but the next step for Jim Harbaugh is figuring out who's going to be on his staff, and also they got to find a GM.
Okay, so there's a lot of questions that remain there, but there's only one that really matters.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
Go.
Yeah, Justin Herbert now has a coach that gets him into the Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar, Joe Burrow conversation. He's that talented of a player, and they now have a coach that is going to allow that talent to ascend into that conversation. They put Kansas City on notice. We're going to watch Kansas City play in the AFC Championship for the 6th year in a row. Kansas City no longer just gets to kind of dominate that division. They've candidly put the whole conference on notice. And you can't win in that conference. It's different than the NFC. You can't matter in that conference without a superstar quarterback. They have that in Herbert. And now Herbert has a guy that is going to take that talent. The most talented quarterback Jim Harbaugh has ever had is Andrew Luck. This cat's not far off talent-wise. And we know what he made Andrew Luck into, the #1 pick of the draft. This is huge for the Chargers, and it's massive for Herbert.
This is the best thing that's going to happen to Justin Herbert in his career.
Yeah.
Be able to have a competent head coach to make grown-up decisions when it comes to football. Also, I love the balance that Jim Harbaugh and his offensive philosophy is going to bring to this football team. Everything is not going to be on Justin Herbert and his shoulders. He values the run game. He utilizes his tight ends. He loves to build his teams from the trenches and then everywhere else. The quarterback is already in place, and I love the 3 solid offensive linemen that they do have, the young ones, and Sawyer and Zion Johnson and Slater. So you have 3 pieces to the puzzle up front as well. I think now when I look at this football team, who is going to be that bell cow back for this football team?
Blake Corum.
Yep. Look, no, but it's a possibility they may be able to draft him.
Yeah, they could draft him in the 2nd round. They could draft Brock Bowers in the 1st round, a tight end that Paul knows so well from Georgia, who fits perfectly into the offense that he wants to run. I agree with you. It's fascinating. I want to get back to Herbert just briefly for a moment here, because that's what the story is. Jim Harbaugh chose this spot. He had options. Jim Harbaugh chose this spot to go coach this quarterback.
You've been on this.
I just happened to have a conversation with him about it a year ago. The point is, when we watch Herbert, he seems to have all the tools. People want to know, is he that level of good? I feel like you just said it to him.
Talent-wise,
he is Allen, Burrow, Lamar, that level good.
Physical talent-wise, absolutely. I mean, he's 6'5", 240 pounds. He can throw the ball from, the goal line to the 50-yard line, 5 feet off the air, and he can run like a deer. So physical talent-wise, it's everything. He's just never had that offensive-minded head coach to be the person that surged them forward. He was under Brandon Staley, defensive-minded head coach, and he's had a couple different coordinators. But if you take this young talent and you put him with a coach that has that offensive vision of this is the style of football that we're going to play, he's done this without Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah.
Greeny. He's done that without Jim Harbaugh. Yeah. Jim Harbaugh has excelled with Josh Johnson, Alex Smith, Colin Kaepernick, Andrew Luck, J.J. McCarthy. He's done this with Brandon Staley.
Yeah.
What do we think? We expect him to. So you're asking me, can he get into that conversation of the top 5 in the league? Unequivocally, absolutely yes.
I want to value how important it is for Justin Herbert to have a guy that can speak the same language as him. Played the position. Jim Harbaugh played with the San Diego Chargers when they were in San Diego.
He did.
He got drafted by the Chicago Bears. He played the quarterback position. That's why him and J.J. McCarthy and their relationship is so dynamic.
Think about the stars, the young stars at the position in the NFL right now. Patrick Mahomes went in with Andy Reid, offensive-minded guy. Lamar Jackson was with Greg Roman. Now Harbaugh's maybe a little bit of a different conversation. Joe Burrow, offensive-minded guy. Zach Taylor. Josh Allen, he's got Joe Brady as his offensive coordinator now. Sean McDermott was you got to get these young freaks. C.J. Stroud, offensive-minded. Bobby Slowick, you got to get them with either an elite offensive coordinator or an offensive-minded head coach. You can't just have it as this defensive-centric philosophy.
That's the difficult thing with Justin Herbert, because you see the talent, but so many people are wondering, when is he going to take that next step? Well, now he has the opportunity to do that with this head coach.
You mean he has an adult in the room now?
I'm not going to go that far, Harold, but...
I will. I will. I agree completely with everything that's been said here, primarily with what Harry said. This is the best day Justin Herbert has had since he got drafted. This is the best thing that could possibly happen to any young quarterback, is having Jim Harbaugh hired. This will elevate Herbert as high as he can go. Whatever he's capable of, no doubt. That's what Harbaugh will get out of him.
There's two things really attached to this. Number one, even though he's remarkably talented, you still knew when he had to go head-to-head and beat a Patrick Mahomes or a Burrow, there was the asterisk of like, yeah, but can Justin Herbert and Brandon Staley actually go do it? Now it's Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh. And I think the second thing is, as unbelievable as he is in talent, and he's got this I could be top 5 MVP caliber ability, he has had moments in games late where you go, it's almost similar to some of the stupidity about Josh Allen. You know, like late in games, can you be the person to make the play rather than make the mistake? Again, that's Jim Harbaugh's addition is going to close that gap. He'll take him from like a talent to like a dominant winner.
Yeah, the margin for error was so slim.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think also, Dio, from a talent perspective when it comes to Justin Herbert, being a wide receiver and just seeing how he throws the football, I think Jim Harbaugh is going to be able to, tap into his mental a little bit. Hey, you don't have to throw this one 100 miles
as hard
per
as
hour.
you can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right? You can.
That's enough. Every ball is flat.
Exactly. Yep.
So we all think this is going to go very well for Harbaugh. We all think it's going to go very well for Justin Herbert. How is it going to go for the program that he leaves behind? He is a Michigan man. He did exactly what he set out to do, Paul. He went there to win a championship. He did something that even his mentor, Bo Schembechler, never did. Schembechler never won the national title at Michigan. Harbaugh does. The overwhelming expectation is that Sharon Moore, who was the offensive coordinator, who coached 6 games for them this year when Harbaugh served his 2 suspensions, will get that job. Where does this leave Michigan in the wake of Harbaugh's departure?
Well, more than likely, a week from now, they will make the decision to elevate Sharon Moore, who really did a fine job. But the issue is what's going on around him. Don't forget, Greeny, the Big Ten is not what it was this year. You've got those 4 schools coming over from the Pac-12. And on top of that, here are the 2 things that Sharon Moore will probably have to worry about. Second week of the season at the Big House, they're playing Texas, which was in the Final Four, as everyone knows. Texas is going to be one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the country. At the end of the season, they go to Columbus. And this is not this year's Ohio State team. This Ohio State team has just loaded up, especially in the portal. They picked up Alabama's best defensive player. They've got Ole Miss's best running back. They also picked up a future quarterback from Alabama. So Ryan Day will likely be either number 1 or 2 in the preseason. and you don't want to lose to Ohio State in your first season at Michigan. Jim Harbaugh knows all about that.
Which will bring us to the point that Harry was making to me before the show, and I'd like you to make it again right now.
Glenn Frey. The heat is on. That's when it comes to Ryan Day. The heat is on.
It's fried, but yes.
Whatever. You know what I mean.
I do.
Came from Beverly Hills Cops, my favorite.
Yes. He was in the
But he has no.
The heat is on Ryan Day.
Yes, it is, 100%. Because now
me on Ryan Day, man.
Listen, you have Jim Harbaugh removed from Michigan. You lost to Michigan the last 3 years. Right? The Michigan Wolverines were able to make the college football playoffs 3 times in a row. You have transfers coming to your school. You're stacking up. You got Bill O'Brien as your offensive coordinator, taking a lot of pressure off of you. There is no excuse.
Is Ryan Day the new guy for Feinbaum? Is he going to transfer from Harbaugh to Ryan Day?
Let's find out.
Is that the new guy?
If they have a bad season this year, are we going in?
100%. I mean, if Ryan Day doesn't beat Michigan, I'll finish that statement later.
I mean, look, we need someone to kick around in the Big Ten for Paul, right?
Hey, why do they have to wait a week? I mean, Sharon Moore should be the head coach yesterday. Why does it have to wait a week?
I love you, man.
It's a legal situation. They have to wait a week based on state law.
Yeah. So Dan is going to campaign to change that law. We'll see if we can't get that done one way or another. The overwhelming expectation is that Moore will ascend to that job. We will see what the NCAA ultimately does with Michigan. There are a lot of moving parts, but the biggest of them is Jim Harbaugh moving to LA to coach Justin Herbert. Paul, stay close by. We'll come back to you. Commanders, and then the Panthers, we suppose, bringing up the rear. Maybe. We're waiting on Detroit's run. Everyone likes Aaron Glenn. Everyone likes him. The bottom line of it is, Shefty, where is Bill Belichick in all of this? I assumed, and I remember, you came on the day that Belichick, that when you came on and told us that Belichick was officially going to be leaving New England, you and I both assumed that teams that were still, that had head coaches were going to consider making changes, much less all these teams that have openings. Where are we with Bill Belichick in this process now?
Well, here's where we are right now, Greeny. We're in a situation where the only team that has an opening, and the only one of the 8 that had a vacancy during this hiring cycle, that interviewed Bill Belichick was the Atlanta Falcons. And they interviewed him for a second time last Friday in person. And since then, the Falcons have paraded through a series of candidates for second interviews and other interviews and scheduled more and more talks with other candidates. That doesn't sound like a team that's ready to make a move on Bill Belichick. Now, coaching hiring cycles, they move in funny patterns sometimes. And sometimes a team starts out on a guy, cools, and comes back to him, or isn't interested and then gets interested. Well, in this particular case, the Falcons have shown that they are interested in a lot of people. And in their own words, they described to me over the weekend that their coaching search after they met with Belichick for a second time is wide open. So if it's wide open after you've met with Bill Belichick twice, that certainly tells you that he's not the favorite for the job. He has not talked to any of the other 3 teams. So of the 4 teams with the remaining openings, there's the real possibility that he's not going to get any of these head coaching jobs. Now, that's fascinating on a number of levels, but what I would say to you is this. When Tom Brady left New England in free agency, there were all of 2 teams that were serious about signing him. The Chargers and the Buccaneers, 2 out of 32. And last year, when Lamar Jackson was a free agent, nobody was interested in signing him to an offer sheet. So sometimes teams get in the way of themselves and don't make rational decisions.
Yep.
And so here we have the greatest coach of all time who's sitting there with a lack of interest, which, again, boggles my mind, but we've seen it before with Lamar, we've seen it before with Brady, and we see it unfolding now with Bill Belichick. I think teams are worried about maybe his age, about his lack of success in New England recently, about what he would want to do to that organization, but he's still Bill Belichick. And to me, you put him on a team, and that team is off the races going in the right direction, but that's not the way the teams in this cycle are viewing it the same way that we are right now.
So here's what I'll say, Shefty, only slightly tongue-in-cheek. The NFL's loss could be our gain. We got a seat here. Thursdays, Bill Belichick on Get Up.
I'm sitting
No,
here.
I'm not
Kimberly, I can't believe he did that to you.
No,
One Wesleyan grad for another.
We will have a seat for him. And Bill, do you think Brock Purdy is an elite quarterback? I'm looking forward to that question. Okay, so that's only half joking. Now did you want to remark on that quickly, Shefty? Go ahead.
Well, the only thing I would just say, again, and this is purely speculative, I want to be very clear, and we're just throwing this out there, having some fun, but we've heard over and over about the possibility that at some point in time, Andy Reid could walk away from football. So if the Chiefs were to win the Super Bowl this year, would that make him more likely to walk? And if he did walk at that point in time, and you're the Kansas City Chiefs, and Bill Belichick were still sitting out there, would that not be an interesting possibility if that's what Andy Reid decided to do, to go take a run at arguably the greatest coach of all time and to replace one legend with another? Again, we're having fun. We're throwing things out there.
Great.
But
Next
that's
6 months
interesting to
Get
watch
Up.
if the Chiefs can find their way to win the Super Bowl.
Listen, you are like the fourth person who has said that to me, and you're by far the most important one who has said it to me. Everyone else who has said that to me, again, everyone just speculating, could Andy Reid be about to walk away? Where there's a little bit of smoke, and if Shefty's willing to joke about it, then there feels like there's a little bit of fire. So just keep that in the back of your head, and let's see where that winds up taking us. In the meantime, I want to separate myself from Shefty on this, which is to say what I'm about to say I'm not attributing to him, but I think what's going on, at least in part here with Bill Belichick, is that the National Football League, like anything else, I guess, is kind of a bit of Game of Thrones. And there are people who are very entrenched in their positions in some of these organizations that don't want to give away or lose the authority or the power that they currently wield in their organizations. And they know if Bill Belichick walks in, that's exactly what's going to happen. And the person who gets the owner's ear last usually winds up winning. If Bill Belichick walks in the door of your organization, he immediately becomes the best football person in the building, with zero exceptions. And we got people right now, and I'm pointing directly at Atlanta, who are doing everything they can to keep that from happening, even though they have absolutely no resume to fall back on and say, well, look, he's won 6 Super Bowls. I've been here a long time and figure I'm going to stay here a long time. That's what's happening to Bill Belichick.
Well, let me tell you what's unique about Atlanta. Number one, you got to look at the simple fact that Bill Belichick is not a spring chicken. He's 71 years old.
Yeah.
You look over the last 3 or 4 years and look at the average age of coaches that are being hired.
Yeah.
They're not 71.
How long do they usually last? How long did the last coaching hire in Atlanta last?
3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can he coach 3 years?
But give me a second, though.
Go ahead.
You look at the young talent.
Yeah.
Is Bill Belichick going to be... These young cats are different, Greeny.
They are.
I promise
They
you.
are. They
You
are.
got to be able to relate to these dudes, man. It's no more, hey, whatever I say goes. They need to know why. You have to be able to have the patience to explain to them and tell them why. And then lastly, we talked about the quarterback position earlier. When it comes to the offensive side of the ball, that's the major deficiency for the Atlanta Falcons. If they draft one, you trust Bill Belichick to develop that young quarterback?
Yes. I trust him as much as I trust anyone to develop a young quarterback.
The problem is because we just saw in New England between Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi that they couldn't figure out the quarterback situation. I will say, I don't think there are 32 people that are better head coaches than Belichick. Like I don't like
there's 3 or 2.
You know what I'm saying? Like that.
Tom Brady was the 199th pick in the draft.
25 years
Belichick
ago.
turned him into the best quarterback that ever lived.
25 years ago.
I understand
so,
that. But
there's a couple of things attached to this. I still believe he'll get a job. Like that, maybe that's me being naive. Once he walks into your building, no one else gets credit but him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that is part of that power struggle as well. It's like once he walks in and they go and win, oh my gosh, Bill Belichick saved the day. Nobody else is going to get credit for the potential success. 2 questions have been, one, the power, you know, and then who's his offensive coordinator? We